Hello everyone, Nick the DM here with another Forgotten Realms book series review. I wasn't going to do another novel review, series review, until I was caught up on some of my half-finished videos, but I've already waited a long time for this specific review, and the longer I put this off, the less relevant it becomes, because today we are taking a look at the prequel novels for the hit movie Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. To increase the excitement and anticipation for the new D&D movie, Honor Among Thieves, and to flesh out the characters more, two new Forgotten Realms novels came out this year on February 28th, a month before the release of the movie. The Road to Neverwinter by Jolie Johnson, and The Druids Call by E.K. Johnston. Both set a number of years before the events of the film itself. Chronologically, both books shift between scenes and flashbacks, but I believe the bulk of the stories set The Road to Neverwinter first and then The Druids Call second. When the movie was first announced, I was skeptical. Of course, an adaptation of any loved franchise can be worrisome for an individual, but after I was told good things from a friend who went to the pre-release, I went to see it in theaters on release day. And I was very pleasantly surprised. Now, I made a YouTube short saying that I liked the movie, and after rewatching it twice on Netflix since it came out, I can comfortably say that it is up there with my favorite movies of all time. But after watching the movie, I found out that these prequel novels existed and immediately set out to get them. Now, when I first got them, I was, of course, skeptical, but as I do, I just get books and I read them because I like books. I've read some really good Forgotten Realms novels, but I've also read my fair share of books that have made me thankful I bought them second-hand and not full price. However, yet again, with these novels, I was very pleasantly surprised. Moving on to my review of the novels themselves. Don't worry, I will avoid spoilers as best I can. At worst, I may mention very minor things from the movie that you could probably see in the trailer, so you needn't worry too much about that. And even if I do need to mention something major for context, I will say in advance that this is a spoiler and I will give a time to skip to, but I think it'll be fine. There's not going to be too much major to talk about, so let's get into it. Starting with The Road to Neverwinter, the first of the prequel novels, which details the story of Edgin and Holga's meeting, as well as the introductions of Forge Fitzwilliam and Simon the Sorcerer, or Simon Omar. The story itself has pretty much all the aspects of a classical fantasy novel: a misfit party, magic items, spells, taverns, etc. The novel itself is formatted like a collection of bedtime stories that Edgin is telling. With a number of smaller adventures and encounters, you'd expect the novel to be messy, but it actually fits quite well together. The stories give us detailed descriptions of the characters and great insight into their personalities. The interactions between the characters feel natural and quite fun in some instances. Their motives are relatable, and they each have their own distinct personalities, fleshing out the entirety of the party by each having their own qualities that either support other characters or are distinct enough that they are their own specialty. I enjoyed the little miniature adventures and stories quite a bit. Each one the characters had to approach differently, and they tied off quite nicely with no loose ends, which allowed the characters' stories to smoothly transition into the movie without any past worries or major unanswered questions, while still allowing the impact of each adventure to reflect in the character's character or personality. Overall, it's a fairly solid novel, and I enjoyed it. However, let's now move on to The Druids Call. This right here has to be one of my favorite Forgotten Realms novels, full stop. The Road to Neverwinter was good, a solid novel through and through, but The Druids Call was for sure my favorite of the two. The acknowledgement section in the back of the novel has a little note saying, quote, "The Druids' Call was outlined in a cold cottage by a pond, written in a cozy cabin by the sea, and edited in every province in Canada." End quote. And that is the atmosphere I felt while reading this novel. This book made me feel so comfy while reading it and just had such a nice atmosphere to it. Now, the Druids Call may not be everyone's favorite. It doesn't have the world-saving adventure, battling dragons and liches to stop evil plots. It isn't an epic tale with massive wars and fiendish armies. But if you like a story about self-discovery, emotional growth, friendship, healing from abuse, and found family, accentuated by a wide variety of characters that feel very real and some very detailed descriptions of food, this is your novel. One thing I do want to mention just very quickly is a bit of a spoiler for the book if you haven't been exposed to any of Honor Among Thieves yet. If you've seen the movie or some of the trailers, it's a very minor detail that won't surprise you. It's not any big reveal in the movie, it is in the book. Skip to the time on screen to avoid the spoiler now. The book itself addresses the fact that Doric can wild shape into an owlbear and speaks of that not being normal, whereas the movie doesn't really address it past saying she can wild shape into an owlbear. Additionally, druids do spellcast in the novel, whereas in the movie we only see Doric wild shape, as well as they do mention that Doric, it takes a lot of Doric to wild shape, whereas in the movie she uses it more freely. Of course, the movie has a more stylistic approach to druids. The book itself addresses it more to the canon of the Forgotten Realms. And that's it for the little minor spoiler. A major highlight about the novel is the variety of characters. I've read a good number of Forgotten Realms novels, and in a world full of magic, elves, dwarves, tieflings, and hundreds of other exotic races, there are just far too many novels that almost entirely focus on humans, and especially the ones where the main party in the novel is 100% humans, with human villains, with human settlements, and maybe one or two other individuals from a separate race thrown in there for variety, like a bag of all red Skittles with one green one on top to show the difference. The Druids Call makes use of the many races of the realms, and also allows some characters to vary from stereotypes of their race, while simultaneously allowing most others to stay more traditional as we would typically know or describe said race. One example. In 5th edition, tieflings are depicted with so many fiendish features, barely even resembling their human side. This is also with Baldur's Gate 3 and a lot of just the visual depictions of like artwork for 5th edition. And a lot of Dungeons & Dragons fans who only know 5th edition don't realize that most tieflings, at least for a long time in the lore and earlier editions, looked more typically human, with maybe a tail or maybe horns or a patch of leathery skin, maybe sharp teeth here, very small details. Honor Among Thieves shows D&D fans that older, arguably more common tiefling variety using Doric. She seems mostly human, just with horns and a tail, but still has unique tiefling traits like fire resilience or resistance, and the ability to eat a lot of things that most humanoids can't. However, the Druids Call also gives us an example of the kind of tiefling seen more recently in art. Open. He has dark red skin, a triangular face with lips that stretch towards his ears, pointed teeth, and a long, thick tail. The introduction of Open surprised me because normally when an author or even a design team for a manual or module decides on a look for a race, they choose a default and may have some smaller variations from there, but E.K. Johnston did her research and kept an open mind while dealing with character design, and that really paid off. Overall, The Druids Call is a shorter novel, but is absolutely a comfort novel. It didn't have a lot of action, but that wasn't the focus of the novel, so there's nothing to complain about there. The novel is fun, detailed, and wraps you up in its storytelling. And that is it for my review of the two prequel novels for Honor Among Thieves. Both are enjoyable books, each in their own way. They are both on the shorter side of novels, but I find the quality of the stories makes up for that. And the characters are all very similar to how they are portrayed in the movie, so that accuracy just makes it even better. Thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed and are looking forward to future reviews, let me know by leaving a like or commenting. Maybe let me know if you enjoyed these novels or what your favorite novels in the realms are. Maybe I've read them, maybe I haven't. I'll probably eventually review them at some point. And of course, you can subscribe to help the channel grow and to catch any future Dungeons & Dragons videos I make. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so if you could subscribe, I'd be very thankful. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!